So direct mail marketing, how to make money. It all comes down to education, opportunity, and action. There's no magic pill. I repeat, there's no magic pill. So many people want to think that they can buy a HomeVestors franchise and immediately achieve success. And in anything in business, it takes consistency and it takes a bit of patience. And most entrepreneurs hate the P word, right? No one wants to be told to be patient. They want to be told, I get what I want when I want it. Sorry, that's not the way it works. So, who am I? I've been buying and selling houses for over 10 years now. In the last 10 years, I've bought and sold over 1,000 houses. This is my lovely wife, Jennifer. We live in a little town called Heath, Texas. This is my entire family this summer in Destin. My 3-year-old Will, my 11-year-old Alex. Alex and I, we hunt and play sports. That's about all we do. As I already said, I'm the founder of the REI Expo. And I am also a development agent for HomeVestors of America. Many of you know HomeVestors as the We Buy Ugly Houses company. So that's me in a nutshell. Let's get down to business. So I get people that call me all the time and say, oh, I want to buy a house. Okay, great. Where do you want to buy? Oh, Dallas. Okay, well, that's a big area. Here you see an example of you have to figure out how far you're willing to drive 4 times a week for one transaction. And that's not 4 times a week to get every one transaction. That's 4 times a week hoping to get one transaction a month. So as you look at this, this is a 30-minute drive from my office. The little white call out that you see is where my office is. And all right, so this is the map. You see the white call out there. That is how far. That's where my office is, right on a major highway. And so everything in blue is what I can get to in 30 minutes without traffic. And so those are the areas I actively farm, because for me, it's all about getting to the house as quick as possible. That's the secret to beating the other guys, so to speak. And the secret is don't be lazy, get in the street and go. So you're going to need some method to track and automate with some flexibility your phone line. You don't want to just put your cell phone number on these cards, because there's no real way to, there's no flexibility, right? I mean, because then it's, if you have your cell phone in your pocket, you are, in essence, on call. So I recommend Google Voice primarily because it's free. If you already have a Google account or a Gmail account, you can create a free phone number within Google. And if I didn't mention, it's free. I'm a big fan of that 4-letter word that starts with an F, free. So answer your phone. We found over 30% of sellers will not leave a message, which means if you don't answer, they're going to hang up and they're going to dial the next number in the green sheet, the next postcard in the mailbox. And when they do, they're going to get me, and I'm going to answer live. And when I answer live, I'm going to book the appointment based off of my schedule. And when you call back, I may have already bought the house. Had a student recently that missed a call on a Friday and didn't return the call until Monday, and by then I already had the house under contract. So actually I already had it sold. So you just got to be careful. You got to answer your phone. If you have a full-time job and you can't answer your phone all the time, that's okay. I'm not saying this is only for people that can be available 24/7. In that case, you want to look for an answering service or something of that nature. A lot of people get hung up on this next step, the return address. Look, if you have a high net worth and you've got people looking for you, fine. Get a P.O. box or a UPS mail store. Those say suite. You know, they have a suite number on it. Looks more like an office. I have an office, so I use my office address. You can, when you start out, if you're limited on capital, save the money, the $30 a month on on a P.O. box, and just mail 100 more postcards and just use your home address. Once you buy your first house, once you make your first money, then you can go ahead and look at if you really feel the need to get a P.O. box. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. You got to have some sort of online presence. This is just a little squeeze page that I print on the bottom of my site of my postcards, where it's simple. They watch a video of me. It's not really planned out. It's just, hi, my name's Tim, and I buy houses. If you want to sell a house, give me a call. I'm the guy you're going to be dealing with. Very, very effective because it's personal and it's unique. So you're going to get a lot of calls from sellers that have motivation. And that motivation is going to make them where they really need to sell, and it's going to make you feel as if you've got a good deal. But ultimately, the numbers have to work. I would tell you that half of the wasted phone calls that I get are from students or new franchises that they want to tell me all the information about a deal, and ultimately, guys, there's three things that matter. What's it worth, what's it need, and what can I get it for? Those three things are going to make the decision for any investor, even if it's a subject to investor. Because here's the thing. What's it worth? 120. What's it need? $2,000. What can I get it for? 90. Okay. Not that that type of deal isn't going to work for someone like me, but I may know a guy that is willing to take that house, zero down on a sub 2, spend the $2,000, and have himself as, in essence, a very low down rent property. Conversely, you use that same number worth same house worth 120, needs 20 grand in worth, they owe 90. No deal. No deal for me. No deal for a sub 2 guy, because no one really wants to spend $20,000 on a subject to house that they're paying almost retail for. Now you've got to have those numbers, because what will happen is I say, okay, that's a lead that you refer to a realtor that does short sales, and you may be able to either make some money on the back end, or you create someone that owes you a favor. In this business, it is a great thing to have people owe you favors. There is no selling now list. So many people are like, well, what list should I mail to? Look, there's no list out there that is published that says these people are going to sell their house in the next 30 days. If that list was available, I would buy the list, I would copyright the list, and I would put everyone out of business. It just doesn't work that way. What you're doing is you're waiting on a trigger event. That trigger event is either going to be a family event, meaning a parent or a loved one is hospitalized, or potentially a divorce. Something happens that in their family that I get a lot of people, grandbabies. You would be amazed at the number of people I've bought houses from here in the North Texas area that are moving to Florida to be with their grandbaby. I'm telling you, they go down there and see that grandbaby the first time, and they come back, and the wife looks at the husband and says, honey, I don't know about you, but I'm moving to Florida. And, I mean, I see it all the time in the field. So that's just one of those things that it's a trigger event. You got financial, of course, that's easy to figure out. Within financial, you've got trigger, bankruptcy, foreclosure, loss of job, that type of thing. Then you end up with a funeral, okay? Dead people do not need a house. That's just the way it goes. Most of the time when someone dies, that house goes up for sale rather quickly. Or unless there's a surviving spouse that just doesn't want to move or has just been there way too long. But most of the time, when someone dies, someone ends up owning a house or having a controlling interest in a house that they did not plan to own. They did not go out and sign a contract and get a mortgage or pay cash for this house. It is a house they did not intend to own that now, they own. So, funeral, that's the way it works. Now, fumigation. I always joke about fumigation because the fumigations, there's so many rat houses, cat houses, houses that are infested with fleas that it's kind of a play on for my 5Fs. It's repair issues. I mean, the bottom line is the house has got a lot of problems. And then fun. I buy houses all the time from people that are done. They've worked their job, they've put their time in, and they're done. And they're going to move to here in North Texas. A lot of times I hear they're moving to Galveston, going to live on the coast. Now, I always say, hey, have you ever seen Galveston? But, that's not for me to decide. So the thing about that is you just never know. But that's just one of the other 5 F's. So here is an overview of some of the different motivated sellers that you can target. You can actually purchase a list for these sellers. Absentee owners, pre-foreclosures, code violators, expireds, probate, over 65. That's based off of the tax rolls on the exemptions. High equity, long-term ownership term. Long ownership terms, so basically people that own their house 20, 30 years or more. In that case, there's a good chance that they have equity. 60, 90-day delinquents, tax liens, and post-bankruptcy. And on this slide, you'll see the different exit strategies that work with each one of these lead sources. You'll notice pre-foreclosures doesn't have wholesalers on it because ultimately pre-foreclosures in Texas specifically, you can't find their name until really day 19 before the auction. So you've already made yourself a motivated wholesaler. So really and truly, in my opinion, the only people that should really work pre-foreclosures are cash buyers or people with their money lined up that are ready to go. And the same thing with the tax liens that are going to tax auction. So I always talk about frequency. And frequency is one of those things that it's hard to get people to commit to. It is hard to get people to commit to a budget. So we'll do a bit of an example. I recommend if you're starting out in this business, you start with a 12-month strategy. We're going to actually break it down into 6 months. In 6 months, you should pull a list of people that you're going to hit twice in 6 months. So basically every 3 months. Once a quarter, everyone on your list is going to hear from you. Because it's really quite arrogant to say that the first time you send someone a postcard that they're going to call you and say, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this card, Tim. So set a budget of $500 a month. Even if you're paying click-to-mail 50 cents a piece on postcards, that would give you a monthly quantity of about 1,000, which means you would have a total list of 3,000 people. Depending on your exit strategy, I recommend 70-90% of the median home price of your target area, 10+ years ownership at a minimum, and then I recommend you go with absentee owner and owner-occupied, both. If you're limited on your budget, you're going to just need to dial that year's ownership down to where, oh, my voice is breaking up. Sorry. I'll try to speak louder. Even if you are if you have a limited budget, what you're going to want to do is just dial that year's ownership up to 15, 20, 25 even if you are returning too many results that you can't consistently market to. I'm telling you, don't mail a single postcard to someone unless you're ready to commit to this 6-month cycle, because ultimately you're wasting money, and you might as well just send me a check for $500 and we'll go out to dinner, because that's all you're going to get out of it. You're going to be out $500. You may actually get to talk to some unique people. I mean, that's really fun. Trust me, the phone calls you get in this business. How many calls to expect? It says ha, ha, ha. Imagine me really laughing hard. What do you think you should get? If you're going to spend $500, how many calls do you think you should get? Are you even thinking about that the right way? I mean, you got to realize that marketing is a campaign. It's not an attack. What is a conversion rate? So many marketers, they love to talk about conversion rate and open rate and response rate and all this other stuff. But do you want phone calls? I don't want phone calls. I don't want anyone on this webinar to call me right now. I don't need extra phone calls. I was showing my wife last night. I've got a brand new phone, new iPhone 5 that she got me on Monday, and I've already spent over 7 hours on it since Monday. That's absurd. I don't need any more phone calls. What I need is more houses to buy. I need to buy more houses. So to me, a conversion rate is just, it's ridiculous. It's irrelevant. I don't want more phone calls. I want to buy more houses. So what I recommend is you target to a more specific list, because then you're going to get less phone calls. And if you are consistent, when you do get a phone call, the overwhelming odds are that the person on the other end of the line has a good probability that the numbers work, the house is in your target area, and it's probably going to need work because people don't take care of their houses. So it's all about pre-qualifying the people you talk to. You don't want to talk to more people. You want to talk to better prospects. So let's just say that you executed this exit strategy. This marketing strategy, and you bought a list of 3,000 names and you divided it up into 3 chunks, list A, list B, and list C. And in the month of January, you mailed list A 1,000 pieces and you got 0 phone calls. Now, at that point, most of you quit. So, if there's 100 people on this call, at this point is where almost every one of you will quit. More than 50% of people quit right here. The reason is lack of faith. Then the next month, a lot of you, we'll say half, will go ahead and mail list B. And list B has got 1,000 names and you only get 1 phone call. But that person, you're not that good on the phone yet. And this one person says, you know what, I just don't want an appointment. I'm not ready to sell yet. And these call numbers don't count the people that call you mad saying to take you off their list. That's a whole nother topic. So now we're in month 3. Month 3 is a fun month because you sent out another 1,000 postcards, but this time you get 2 calls. So now you're at 3 total calls. You've spent $1,500. You have mailed 3,000 postcards. At this time, you finally book an appointment. But let's face it, you're probably not that good at running appointments. You're probably so bitter that you've spent all this money. Let's say you flop on the appointment or you get outbid or whatnot. So at the end of the month, you've had 0 contracts. Now, the interesting thing, and this is where some of you, thank God, will finally say, oh, I get it. In month 4, you mail list A again. So, the interesting thing is this is only the 2nd time these people have ever heard of you or your company. So, it just makes sense that you shouldn't be very upset if they didn't call you the first time, right? I mean, they don't even know who you are. But this time, you've got now 4,000 cards floating around, so you actually get 4 calls this month. Now you book 2 appointments. So now you've been on 3 appointments. You still have 0 contracts. And that's just because you may not be that good at running the appointments. You may not be that good at making your offer. You may seem nervous or unsure of yourself. It says lost me. Anybody else lose me? Okay, we continue. So the point here is you never know until you try. Now, you get into month 5. Now, you're getting a couple calls a week. You're actually going to go on an appointment a week. But let's just say you got 0 contracts. I mean, look, I know this is a hard, and most of you are thinking, hey, this ain't going to work for me. And you know what? That's cool. It probably isn't. If you can't look at this as a business, if you can't sit there and imagine, I could not go $2,500 in the hole without making any money, you know, this isn't for you. You need to buy from a wholesaler, which, hey, just so you know, I wholesale a lot of houses, timharridge.com, sign up on the list. The bottom line is, this is the map. Until you build up some consistency and some repetition, and people have heard from you multiple times, they're not going to buy from you. Now, you get the magic story every now and then. But realistically, I mail 10,000 postcards a month, And I don't know when these people heard of me the first time. All I know is I am consistent, consistent, consistent. Now, what I tell you to expect is if you can stick with this, which if there were 100 of you that started doing this, I can tell you right now, in all certainty, less than 5 of you will make it to this point. Less than 5. Because ultimately you will not believe that you'll say this Tim guy is whacked out of his head. You'll say this list doesn't work. You'll change in this month 2. And every time you change your strategy, you basically hit reset on your results. So let's imagine that you're overpaying at 50 cents a pop for your postcards, and you do this for 6 months, and you spend $3,000. And I'm telling you to expect 1 contract out of that. If you can do that, if you commit to that, and you mail a good targeted list like I talked about, I'm telling you, you can expect to buy that 1 house. As long as you actually, have been trained on how to negotiate and estimate repairs. But the point is, how much can you make on a house? $3 grand? I don't know. Depends on your skill set. Depends on your exit strategy. That's really up to you. So, if you are interested, go to investordirectmail.com. We do have some different templates that my partner George Roddy and I have out there. You can prices start at 3 cents a piece. These are the different postcard templates and prices.